The young woman you're about to meet became the victim of sextortion when she was just 14. In 2009, Ashley Reynolds was victimized by an online predator who convinced her to send naked pictures of herself. She wants your child to know if it can happen to her, it can happen to them.
I'm Ashley. This can't happen to me. I'm normal. But little did I know that I ended up getting terrorized, is the only way I can think of it, by this guy. I just remember getting this message that the subject line said something about naked pictures and that he has of me. I never wanted to send them or give him what he wanted, so I remember just laying in bed in silence and just thinking, and I felt like God was so disappointed in me. I didn't know what to do. I just didn't want my parents to be disappointed in me. I can't. It's just embarrassing to talk about.
Ashley's mom eventually found the messages and confronted her. She hopes sharing her story will help prevent other kids from living through that same nightmare.
So this case ends differently than the ones that we started with. Really, just because the mom happened to find the messages in time. And then what happened with the police? Did she call police?
Yeah, eventually Ashley and her parents worked with the FBI to bring her predator to justice. The investigation led to the arrest of 26-year-old Lucas Michael Chancellor. He pleaded guilty to multiple counts of child pornography production and was sentenced to 105 years in prison. The FBI learned he had victimized nearly 350 teenage girls over several years.
Wow.
Agents say he used multiple personas and dozens of fake screen names like Hello There and Good Looking Guy 313. Pretending to be 15-year-old boys to lure in girls from 25 states across the country, as well as Canada and the United Kingdom.
Wow. Sextortion is a term that maybe you're hearing for the very first time as it's coming out of our mouths tonight. But we have covered far too many crimes where children are the victims of heinous things.
And it's not just sextortion. Child exploitation in general is a huge problem. And if you don't think it can happen here in Central New York, think again.
Earlier this month, a Lewis County man was sentenced to 15 years in prison, admitting he distributed child porn through social media. Last month, a Baldwinsville man admitted he asked an 11-year-old to send him sexually explicit videos over Instagram. And this fall, a Syracuse man was sent to prison for sexually abusing a 10-year-old child and sharing images and a video of the abuse on Instagram.
And last summer, a former local track coach was sentenced to 15 years in prison for sexually exploiting a child. 32-year-old Martin Nicholson admitted he had a child send him compromising photos of another kid under 14 and then sent them to people online. A federal investigation found he was trading child pornography over Twitter. Nicholson previously coached at West Hill, Jordan Elbridge, and Bishop Ludden.
It is overwhelming to me that you can rattle off cases impacting 6 Central New York communities, and that didn't even take a minute to go through all those.
Yeah, Michael, and these are the emails that we received from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This is just since the beginning of the year. Case after case detailing the sexual exploitation of children. Combine that with our 2 cases of sextortion in the North Country and another nearly 2,000 miles away in Texas. It is clear to see there is a major problem, and it's one a special agent with the FBI told me was only made worse by the pandemic.
We did see a rise in reporting, at least, of inappropriate contact or communication online. And I think a lot of it has to do with what you had mentioned, more kids were online because there was a lot of online schooling.
So the families that we spoke with, the 2 in the North Country and then 1 in Texas, as you might imagine, they are beyond heartbroken. Nothing will bring their children back. But they're all incredibly committed to preventing this from happening to another family. So I want to ask you, is there a child online right now somewhere at risk? And what is the FBI doing to stop this?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So we work tirelessly here and in Central New York through our task forces to prevent online child exploitation. We have a very robust task force that is online, engaging with individuals and out there on the internet, proactively looking for these individuals who are enticing children. But I think it's very important as a parent, and something that I do, is having those conversations. They're difficult conversations, especially if your kids are younger, right? It's finding that that right conversation to have with the child to explain to them that it's never okay to send photographs, especially in sexual nature, to anybody on the internet.
In my conversations with these 3 families that I interviewed, they all said what you had just said a moment ago, that they had had the conversations with their children about never sharing anything, explicit online, but that they didn't continue the conversation to say, but if you do, you need to tell someone. How important is it then to continue those conversations, not just to stop at, don't do it?
Yeah, it's very important. And I think if you put yourself in a kid's shoes, that's a difficult situation to be in. It's embarrassing. I think having that relationship where they feel comfortable to come to you, or whether it's a teacher, a coach, somebody, is very important.
Well, and all of this strikes me as so key because, let's face it, you're a mom who can get access to the FBI. You can call the FBI and say, I need an interview. But so many parents out there don't have that sort of access. So I'm curious, what is the message from the FBI to moms and dads and guardians everywhere?
Right. So his message to parents is that if you think that this has happened to your child, you need to report it immediately, screenshot everything they say, and then send it to investigators, and don't engage with the person on the other end.
Is the FBI doing anything as an agency to communicate with young people directly?
Well, 4 years ago, the FBI launched a sextortion awareness campaign in schools, putting up these posters in middle and high schools across the country, warning them of a crime that begins on their smartphones, computers, and game consoles. And it's not the only effort among government agencies trying to stop this.
I wanted to give you something special.
In 2006, the Department of Justice launched Project Safe Childhood, a nationwide initiative to stop child sexual exploitation. The agency released a series of PSAs to warn families of the dangers. Project Safe Childhood links federal, state, and local resources to locate, arrest, and prosecute people who exploit children on the internet and rescue victims. But 16 years later, children are still being victimized. And prosecuting those cases can be challenging. I sat down with a top federal prosecutor in Syracuse who is on a mission to protect children.
Unfortunately, we only hear about it when it's gone too far.
Over the last 15 years, Assistant U.S. Attorney Lisa Fletcher has prosecuted more than 150 cases of child pornography and exploitation. It never gets any easier.
What doesn't necessarily get raised in it is, we still love you. I'm going to get emotional.
As a federal prosecutor, she has seen the worst of the worst, and the cases just keep coming, with a special task force now set up in Syracuse and Albany, working tirelessly with the FBI, state police, and local law enforcement.
It is an explosion. It is constant. Every week, a couple times a week, I get new cases.
As the Project Safe Childhood coordinator for the Northern District of New York, Fletcher coordinates the effort to prosecute predators and protect children, with undercover officers online 24 hours a day to prevent kids from becoming victims.
And a lot of what we can see with that are people online getting the child on the other end of the screen to engage in sex acts, either and videotape it or take pictures and send them, or even do it live stream through a webcam. It can happen upstairs in your kid's room while you're cooking dinner, and you have no idea.
Fletcher says what scares her the most isn't just children being targeted, but kids who do send compromising photos and end up feeling trapped.
If you do something that you shouldn't, if you do make a mistake, you can get past this. This is not a fatal flaw. You can get past this, and it is not the end of your life.
Once a child becomes the victim of sexual exploitation or sextortion, Fletcher's office opens a case. But many times the crime starts overseas, and that's where she can hit a roadblock.
It is paralyzing to us because we can't do a criminal case on those. The IP addresses, where do these things come from? They're in countries overseas where we can't, I can't send in SEAL Team 6 to go take down some boiler room in West Africa with some guys who are trying to make a couple grand off of fishing for kids.
The challenge, she says, is the extradition process, which is long and slow. She welcomes new ways to hold offenders accountable, like improving relationships with other countries to expedite getting criminals to face justice.
It isn't a quick fix. It's a tool in our tool chest that we could do, and that maybe at some point in time we would actually be successful in getting somebody that we could prosecute. But it is, again, it is not a perfect system, even if it were available to us.
We have laid out the problem and the reach it has. Now we're asking what can be done, what is being done right now to stop it. When we come back, my interview with Congressman John Katko.
What laws are currently on the books to hold social media companies accountable for something like this?
Yeah, not enough. I mean, that's a constant tension we have right now.
Why he says it's so difficult to track down and prosecute these criminals, and what he's doing about it as your elected leader in Washington.